People, we've got a lot to cover and time is short.
Hey everybody, it's me, your buddy Dave, the host of the Dark Stuff channel here on YouTube. Thank you so much for checking out the latest video. As always, it is much appreciated. So you have tuned in to the newest episode of Rock of Aging, the show where my co-host Erika and I explore the depths of our hair metal past and try to discover what it is about this music and this era that has captivated us for decades. This is your go-to spot for 80s metal conversation and community. Hey, Erika, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. You know, by the way, I'm entering my glasses era here on the show. For those of you, don't be alarmed.
Well, we both are. I've got my readers handy as well. It's almost like overnight, my eyes changed and I cannot see. Like I literally can't see. So
I had the same thing. All of a sudden, my glasses were just to drive, and now I need them all the time. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. So this is Rock of Aging, old people bitching about how it's different now when you hit this point. What have you been up to since the last episode?
A lot of work. We've had a lot of shows at the venues that I book. And so really it's just been busy. I'm hoping to get away at some point this summer, but so far it hasn't really happened. So what about you? Have you taken any big luxurious vacations?
No, I haven't taken a vacation in 3 years. Yeah. I'm going this weekend to see a deep sea diver in Iowa, in Des Moines, but I don't consider that a vacation because I'm driving there and back in the same night. So it's not really a vacation.
So far we've complained about vision.
Yes.
And talked about our extremely boring schedules. We're off to a good start.
This is a captivating podcast. This month's episode is something new. So we decided to both give each other a homework assignment, right? So we're being the teacher. I gave Erika an album. She gave me an album. These were both 80s metal albums that for some reason, neither one of us had really been that familiar with, even though they're name artists. We're not going like to the Demal's record that nobody's heard or whatever, some super obscure record. We're talking big stuff. And it has been determined through flip of the coin that I will go first on this one.
What you thought of this album, because this truly was one of my favorite albums growing up. I remember I had the cassette tape and I listened to it all the time. He did a bunch of duets and cool stuff with other artists, and I just thought it was great.
So the album Trash came out July 25th, 1989 on Epic Records. Depending on how you count Alice Cooper records, this was either his 11th album or his 18th album. And the reason that distinction is because it's 11 if you count solo. It's 18 if you count pre-1975 when Alice Cooper was a band, not just a guy. The album was produced by Desmond Child, massive hit maker of the 80s, co-wrote songs with Kiss, Aerosmith, Bon Jovi, Joan Jett, so many more, was just a huge part of the 80s. This was kind of Alice Cooper's major comeback to commercial music in the sense that I don't know if a lot of people know that he kind of retired for a minute in the early 80s because he was so out of control with drugs and alcohol that he had to. Okay. And he basically did this album called Dada in 1983, which I actually find pretty interesting. But he says he has actually no memory of making it at all. None.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's quite a bender.
If you've seen videos of Alice in the early 80s, you know, he used to drink really hardcore. Then he went and checked himself into a mental hospital. This is the From the Inside album. That's detailing his experience. He went into a mental hospital because he to stop drinking. That was what it was about. I guess that's what they did in the 70s. He came out, he did stop drinking, but he got really into cocaine, and to the point where he looked like he was about 100 pounds. And he would look like he was on the verge of death. And like, if you saw an interview with him in 1982, look it up on YouTube, Alice Cooper, 1982. It's scary to see how he was. But he came back, and after he retired in 83, he took 3 years off. He came back in 1986 and he did the album Constrictor. Then he did the album Raise Your Fist and Yell. And he did become a concert star again. Like, he could fill up arenas and people went to go see Alice Cooper, but those records were not hits at all. I mean, they did okay, but they really didn't set the world on fire. So Alice went to another record company, went to Epic Records, and they hooked him up with Desmond Child. And they then started working on this album. Now, trivia question for you, Erika. Do you know how Desmond Child got hooked up in this whole heavy metal world to begin with?
I don't think so.
Okay, so I do know this story. In the late 70s, he was in a disco band called Desmond Child and Rouge.
Oh,
And they played in New York City. Yeah, and they played in New York City. Paul Stanley showed up at some club, saw the band, liked it, went and saw him again, and then this time approached Desmond Child about, I like your music, etc., whatever. They became fast friends, and they co-wrote I Was Made for Loving You back in 1979.
That's
top
a great
10
song.
hit for Kiss. Yeah, top 10 hit for Kiss. Kiss's sort of disco song. So obviously now, if people want to blame somebody, they can blame Desmond Child, I guess. But it was a monster hit. Rolling Stone declared it number 36 in the top 50 hair metal albums of all time. Kerrang! Magazine says this is the 6th best Alice Cooper album in his entire catalog. The album went double platinum. And of course, we know now that it's a massive and memorable record. So I don't remember how the topic of why this came up, but I think you and I were like at lunch or something, and the subject of Alice Cooper came up, and I had pointed out that I'd never heard the entire album Trash. I just knew the song Poison, and that was it. So that's where it kind of came up, and I guess that was where the origin of suggesting this particular record. Poison, by the way, was Alice Cooper's first top 10 single since 1977, and this record, Lace and Whiskey, where he had the song You and Me.
I love that song.
That was his last that was his last top 10 hit. So he went from 1977 until 1989, no hits. And now Poison came back, and apparently that's his biggest charting single or his best single from a sales perspective, more so than even Only Women Bleed, School's Out, I'm 18. I would say, like, thematically on this record, it's not this typical scary sort of Alice Cooper. Like, he's not doing the crazy thing. These songs are mostly about sex and about, like, you know, kind of what 80s rockers were talking about. He wasn't doing his old thing, you know, Only Women Bleed or whatever, School's Out. He was doing like what 80s metal was writing about. I mean, no question. He was on point. And the first song on side one, Poison, is about a relationship that is really goes off the rails. Like, it starts off great, and then you realize this woman is dangerous, you know, bad news. But the single is awesome, and it's super memorable. I bet you he plays it every night at his shows, I'm sure, even today. Like I said, it was his best known single, so I don't think he could get away with not playing it personally. That was written by Alice Cooper, Desmond Child, and another guy named John McCurry, who is the guitar player on this record. This album's unusual in a sense that usually Alice Cooper would just write songs with whoever his guitar player is at the time, and that's kind of the norm. He used to write with Dick Wagner when Dick Wagner was his player. He used to write with Kane Roberts when Kane Roberts was his guitarist. But he didn't have a real guitarist in this one. These guys are all studio musicians. So he wrote with Desmond Child. So it is a different sort of vibe and different way that Alice writes. And maybe that was the reason why it was so successful. Who knows? Spark in the Dark is the next song. And I do like that tune. It's maybe the most 80s metal guitar riff I've ever heard. I mean, it's just so, like, I don't know. I don't want to start singing it or trying to, because that would be really embarrassing.
It's going through my head right now.
Yeah, it's such a catchy riff, but it's like so 80s. If you want to show a prototypical 80s metal riff, you could play Spark in the Dark and it would work. Catchy chorus that's written just Alice and Desmond Child. I thought that was a good song. I didn't love it, but I thought it was pretty cool. The next song, of course, is called House of Fire, and this one has been stuck in my head for days. That building a house of fire, baby. I was just like, oh God, stop. Because I keep hearing it over and over and over and over, and I can't stop singing it. By the way, Joe Perry plays guitar on this particular track. It was a co-write with Joan Jett. And my note on it was, I thought that House of Fire sounded like Bon Jovi, but with Alice Cooper singing.
Interesting.
And I even thought the lyrics, he was sort of telling a tale, like the way John Bon Jovi tells a story in a lot of the songs. I felt like House of Fire was sort of doing that. And I knew because you told me that John and Richie were on this record and maybe wrote something or something. And I figured it was going to be this one because it sounded like Bon Jovi to me. However, it wasn't. It was the one co-written with Joan Jett and played Joe Perry from Aerosmith. So that was a surprise, but I'd have to put that out as a good one because if it gets stuck in your head and you can't help but sing it, like I feel like that must count as like one of the better ones.
I think that's almost the definition of a memorable hit.
Yeah, no question.
Stop singing.
Was that a single back in the day? House of Fire?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I don't think it was.
We'll have to do some research.
You move on from House of Fire and we get to the song Why Trust You. And I didn't care much for this one. I thought it was just kind of generic, okay guitar riff, but wasn't one of my favorite songs on the record.
I remember not being a super fan of that song either.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know. It's like it really evokes nothing. It's just very, very generic. The next one though is the ballad. It's called Only My Heart Talkin'. And this was written with Alice Cooper and two guys who I don't know, names that don't ring any bells. This is for someone who doesn't like ballads, as you know, I don't like ballads. I like this ballad. I don't know why, but I kind of found myself sort of being like, yeah, it's only my heart talking. Like it has a little country tinge to it. And I don't know, maybe this was a hit off the record. I just don't remember, but I do like this song. And Steven Tyler sings on it.
Yes.
He doesn't do much, but is sort of like kind of at the end, his normal thing that he used to do, his shtick, but it's cool. I mean, no question about that. But I don't know. Do you remember that one? Only My Heart Talking?
Yeah, I love that song. I thought it was great. Of course, though, being the female, I always loved the ballads. They were my favorites. So yeah, I love that one. Of
course, that was the one that you went for. Now, if we flip over to side 2, you got the song Bed of Nails. And I looked at the credits on this one, and it was co-written by Diane Warren. Okay, she's also written with Aerosmith. She's written with Kiss. She's written with all these other people, maybe Bon Jovi, I'm not sure. But she usually is on ballads. She writes like ballads with like that Aerosmith song, Don't Want to Miss a Thing. She wrote that. She wrote Every Time I Look at You with Paul Stanley for Kiss. So she's usually on ballads. So I expected Bed of Nails to be a ballad, and it's not. It's, first of all, co-written by Kane Roberts. He's back. He plays guitar on it. We continue on with side 2 now, and we get another song. This song called "This Maniac's in Love with You."
Oh yeah.
Okay, it's all right.
It's catchy.
Yeah, it's pretty catchy. It's got a good chorus. I just thought the keyboard flourishes were a little unnecessary. Maybe there's a lot of keyboards on it, and again, that's 1989, so maybe that's sort of par for the course for that. So This Maniac's in Love with You, good song, kind of funny lyrics, a little bit more older Alice themed because it's not necessarily, I mean, he is saying I'm in love with you or whatever, but it's not really like a sex song. It's just more like kind of comical because Alice Cooper did have a good sense of humor in the 70s. In a lot of his songs, he was very, very dry wit. Like you don't really know that he's being funny, but you think about it and then you're like, oh yeah, of course he is. The title track is up next, and that's Trash. And this is the one that has Richie and or John Bon Jovi guests on this one on vocals. Tom Hamilton of Aerosmith plays bass, and Joey Kramer from Aerosmith plays drums. Before I knew that, my notes said, sounds like early 80s Aerosmith. I didn't even realize that they were on there.
There's a reason.
But it does kind of sound like that album Done with Mirrors, maybe, or the one they did before that with the song Jailbait when Joe Perry was not in the band. I can't remember the name of the record, but anyways, it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. So it was a good song. It was a cool one. I mean, and just the guest stars. And John Bon Jovi does more or less like backup vocals, or you hear him clearly. You
can definitely tell. You can hear his voice for sure. And
it's not like it's a duet or anything, but you can definitely tell that's him singing on it. And so he is on that one. I said Trash was a great song. I think it's one of my favorites on the record. So it was good, And we got 2 more tracks on the record. Hell is Living Without You.
Oh, I love that song.
Okay, now this is the one that's a co-write with John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora.
Huh.
So they wrote that with Alice and Desmond Child. So it's almost like a Bon Jovi track with Alice Cooper's name thrown on it. Again, sort of. I do kind of like this one. It was sort of an 80s sounding. It was sort of an 80s sounding ballad, but in this case, more of a keyboard ballad as opposed to Only My Heart Talkin', which had that sort of country tinge.
Mm-hmm.
So Hell Is Living With You is pretty good. It does have some guest stars, Richie Sambora.
Hell Is Living Without You. It's not Hell Is Living With You.
Oh yeah, you're right. Hell Is Living Without You.
That's a whole different song.
I'm branding it into something personal. Okay, so hold on. Hell Is Living Without You features Richie Sambora and Steve Lukather on guitar. Lukather,
I didn't know that.
From Toto, and now he plays with Ringo Starr. He's in Ringo Starr's band currently, but he's played on a million records, including Michael Jackson Thriller and all sorts of stuff. He's on that particular track. I did say it does sound a little like Bon Jovi, and then when you find out that John and Richie were co-writers, it makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. I thought on this one, though, John would have the range to sing this one perfectly. Mm-hmm. This kind of stretches the limits of Alice's voice just a pinch. Mm-hmm. I still liked it, but it feels like it was written for somebody with maybe a wider range. Like John was thinking it's something he could sing, and then it became an Alice Cooper cut. But either way, it is pretty good. There's 3 ballads on this one. That's a surprise. I didn't know there was 3. I hadn't really thought about it. The last song on side 2, the closing track of the album, is called I'm Your Gun. Features Kip Winger on vocals, which I couldn't pick out by ear. I didn't notice him necessarily on there. I know he used to be in Alice's band for a couple of years prior.
Yeah, that's right.
Played bass with him for 2 or 3 years. But on this one, he just does guest vocals. Part of the problem with I'm Your Gun is the opening has what I call like the gang chorus, where they do something where it sounds like it's 50 people at once singing, like, like Keel, The Right to Rock. It's like 50 people going, The Right to Rock. I find that stuff super corny. I don't like when they do that. And that's how this one starts off. So it's sort of like, you're already starting with the 80s big chorus thing with hundreds of vocals or whatever. So it starts off kind of wrong. And I did think the lyrics were sort of dumb. It's all right if you don't pay too much attention to it. It's not a bad song.
I remember being interested in it, but really only because Kip Winger was on the song. And that was, I didn't love the song itself. I just thought it was cool that Kip was on it.
Yeah, because I didn't know who Kip Winger was until Winger. I didn't realize that he'd been playing with Alice Cooper and Kane Roberts. I guess it was those two together in that era. So, I mean, I guess if I'm looking at the record overall, my favorite song was definitely Poison is awesome. Spark in the Dark, I did find pretty cheesy, but I still think it's cool. I mean, I like it. The riff is great. And the song Trash, which I thought sounded kind of like Aerosmith, and I loved it. I thought it was really great. My least favorite ones, though, would be Bed of Nails, as I just thought it was a bad chorus, and I'm Your Gun.
I would agree. With your assessment. I did absolutely love this album, though. So I'm glad you listened to it. And actually, you talking about it makes me want to go listen to it again. Like I haven't listened to it for a while, but now it's on my list.
Yeah, it's surprising to me because I've liked Alice Cooper since I was a kid. And yet, for some reason, his biggest album almost ever, it was like I just completely blew it off. I don't know why. I was firmly entrenched in his music at the time. I just was like, nah. I heard Poison. I was like, it's okay. But now I love that song. But I don't know what it was in 1989. I just wasn't feeling it, I guess. I don't know. But I'm glad to have revisited it. Yeah. Because now I consider it a really good Alice Cooper record and something that I strangely overlooked. I don't know why.
Well, I feel the same way about Alice Cooper, as I feel about Ozzy Osbourne. Like back in his heyday, like in the 70s, early 80s, like I don't remember being a fan of Alice Cooper's. I remember kind of being aware of some of his music, but also, again, I think he was very much targeting the male crowd because he had the shock rock thing and he was doing crazy stuff on stage and he had the scary makeup and he wasn't really like my kind of vibe. But when this album came out, I think that's when I really got interested in Alice Cooper and started listening to his older material. And by all accounts, and from anyone who's ever met Alice Cooper, he's a dear man. Like he
Yeah.
is so kind, so generous to his fans, such a nice person, has helped so many people in the business, you know, like whether it's by putting them in his band or by helping them with other sorts of initiatives. I mean, he's just like a very, very kind person. So I became more of a fan of him as a person, even more so than his music, although I do love his music as well. And that album that you just described in particular is my all-time favorite for sure.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I grew up seeing Alice Cooper when I was a child as part of like pop culture. I mean, he was on the Muppet Show. The Muppet Show.
Wow.
He was a regular guest on Dinah Shore. He would be on like he would, except for the Muppet Show, he always had a can of beer in his hand, like a can of Budweiser. Every
well,
interview.
I'm glad he laid off for the Muppet Show.
Yeah, they probably told him, "Hey, you can't have a can of beer on the Muppet Show." But it was like drinking was such a huge part of his daily routine that he functioned perfectly drunk all day long. And that's what he said. He would wake up in the morning and he would drink beer until he went to sleep. And you'd see him, and he was fine on stage. He was fine doing interviews. He was fine, all these other things. And he was fine until it wasn't, obviously, in like 78, and it finally caught up to him. I guess my final thought on Trash was that it was a great record. I liked it. I do think that the use of studio musicians gave it a bit of a sterile feel looking back. Like when he has his own guitar player like Dick Wagner or Kane Roberts, it had a certain sound, and these guys were studio guys, and they just sort of were like, okay, I'm going to do my 80s solo now, and it just sort of fits the part. And you know, it's being hypercritical, and I probably don't need to be, you know, that's sort of dumb. But at the same time, that was kind of what I thought about it. Great record, good songs, sounds perfect for 1989. I mean, it's almost like they did a dissertation on 80s hair metal or whatever, because it's like they summed it all up into one record. They got the ballad, they got the keyboard ballad, they got the guitar ballad, they got the rocker, they got the sex song, they had it all.
It almost feels a little bit like Hysteria. And I think we talked about this on a past episode where like Mutt Lange really went into that project thinking every single song is going to be a hit. And that's what they were sort of going for. It almost feels like maybe that was the same kind of direction that they were trying to take this one. Because like you said, it fits the mold completely.
Well, you wouldn't have hooked up with Desmond Child if you weren't looking to have some hits.
Yeah.
He was the guy in 1988, 89. I mean, his track record at that point was just insane. I mean, it's almost like that Jack Antonoff producer guy who's on every record right now. Yeah. And he was writing with everybody. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on Trash. It was a good assignment. I'm glad I was assigned the record.
It's too light. It feels like a C.
My assignment, as we discussed, was Skyscraper by David Lee Roth. And my general feeling about this album is that I admittedly was not expecting much, but it was way better than I anticipated.
Oh, wow.
Of course, like any album, there were some good songs and there were some not so good songs. I'll get into all of that. But I have a question for you. Like, you recommended this album to me because you like it, correct?
Yes. When Van Halen split in 85, I was 100% Team Dave. Okay. Yes. I was not into Van Hagar. I didn't care. Saw Roth. I mean, the first two times I saw him in the 80s with a solo, the opener was Cinderella the first time, and the opener was Poison the second time. So, great. You know, it was great openers, great shows. But no, I do like this album. I hadn't heard it in a really long time, and I don't want to step on your toes and talk about it before you get a chance to. But yeah, I definitely have some thoughts on this, and I do like it. But I'll let you take it away with this.
Feel free to chime in. Feel free to chime in as I'm discussing this album. But like you just mentioned, Skyscraper was the second full-length album from David Lee Roth after he left Van Halen. Up to that point, he had released the EP Crazy from the Heat, which featured Just a Gigolo and California Girls, which I remember vividly. And then he had Eat 'Em and Smile. I own that cassette tape primarily for the song Yankee Rose, which is a song I absolutely love. And that is what I believe his best solo song. But he also had Going Crazy on that album. And so he had some good tunes on Eat 'Em and Smile. Skyscraper came out in January of 1988. So to set the stage, I was in 8th grade, and we are smack dab in the middle of 80s metal mania. Just Like Paradise was the first single released off of this album. And I remember the video got a ton of MTV airplay. If you watch the video now, you'll see what I mean. I remember not really getting what was going on with his image at that point. Like the entire video was like a mix of David rock climbing and like doing a lot of martial arts type stage moves. And then we had a weird boxing montage that came out of nowhere. It's like all of a sudden David Lee Roth was in a Shields commercial. And I don't think I really got what was going on. Like, did he have to go find himself when Van Halen broke up? And now this is what we've got, like Jock Dave. I just didn't really get it. I didn't follow. What I did like a lot was the addition of Steve Vai. Steve had also played on Eat 'Em and Smile. And while there is, of course, no replacement for Eddie Van Halen, Steve Vai is on his own a very highly credentialed guitarist in his own right.
Oh, yeah.
And definitely plays in a style that's Eddie-esque with really fast finger work and complicated riffs. And Dave and Steve now became, in my eyes, sort of like Billy Idol and Steve Stevens. Like I thought they were a great duo. One comment also, apparently Billy Sheehan played bass on both of the two aforementioned albums as well, which I never realized before. Many believe Billy Sheehan to be the best bass player of all time. Of course, I disagree because I love Nikki Sixx so much.
Well, trivia thing about that, Billy Sheehan did play on the record. You're correct. But then he quit Roth's band. And when they went out on tour, it was Greg Bissonette, the drummer's brother, that played bass on that one. I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
I could be wrong on that one.
Billy left the band by the time David Lee Roth toured Skyscraper due to creative differences. I think David Lee Roth made a decision to use tracked backing vocals, and apparently he had tape on the stage each night to limit how close band members could get to him. He didn't want to be crowded out of his space. Like he had a performance area and there were boundaries, and I don't think Billy Sheehan really got on board with that. So he split. The songs on Skyscraper I thought were pretty classic David Lee Roth songs, a lot of sexual innuendo, a lot of humor. All of David Lee Roth's tunes, I feel like, are sort of like frivolous in terms of subject matter, not in terms of musicality, because I think a lot of his music is really great, but, you know, like he's not going deep on anything or talking about emotions. I mean, it's mostly just, you know, we're having a good time, we're partying.
Yeah.
There were 3 singles released off of this album, Just Like Paradise, like I mentioned, released in December 1987. Then the song Stand Up was released in 1988. And Damn Good, released in July of 1988. And as I listened to this album, I was glad to find out that Damn Good was actually a single, because when I listened to that album, I knew a ton of the words to that song. And for the life of me, I could not figure out why. It's like, why do I know this song? But it was actually released as a single.
See, I didn't know that. I had no idea what the other singles after Just Like Paradise were, because I just don't remember at all.
Yeah, Stand Up and Damn Good. So the songs I noticed as I went through them, and I'll talk about the tracks now, the songs were immediate thumbs up or thumbs down for me. Like there was no middle ground.
Yeah. Well, look, you either know or you don't. I mean, you know, it's one or the other.
Yep. I listened to this album all the way through 3 times because I feel like I have to listen to it more than once to really like get the vibe. Knucklebones is the very first track off of this album. Thumbs up. Like it's just a good kind of rockin' track. Like straightforward rock and roll.
Yeah.
Just Like Paradise, thumbs up. Although to be honest, I did not love this song when it came out. It was just not my favorite. This song to me though sounds the most like it fits into the songs of this era. So I can see why Just Like Paradise was the first one that they released. It's a good tune. Do you like Just Like Paradise?
I do. I mean, I would say as far as that goes, it was a great single. It's super catchy, very memorable. At the time, I loved this album. I mean, I was like, Dave's on a roll here. You know, he's got another album. You know, this guy's doing great. Looking back, I could quibble a little bit with the sound of Steve's guitar on certain songs and a sort of a general more synthy vibe to it than previous Van Halen. But I also say, like, name another artist that wasn't doing that in 1987, 88. I mean, everyone was doing that, trying to be more modern sounding and not sound like they used to. So I got it. I mean, I understood. But no, I do love that song. Great tune. I love Just Like Paradise.
Okay. I gave it a thumbs up. It wasn't my favorite back in 1988, but it's definitely a classic David Lee Roth tune. The Bottom Line was the third song. I gave this one a thumbs down because it's just a weird tempoed song. It's not horrible. It just wasn't my favorite. It sounded sped up, like let's show everyone how fast we can play, which is something some people may care about, but I do not. So that was not my favorite.
Yeah, Steve Vai cares about that a lot.
Exactly. And Steve Vai fans and people that love those kinds of complicated guitar riffs, I'm sure they absolutely love that song. It wasn't my jam.
Now, you know where Steve Vai went to after he left David Lee Roth, correct?
I don't know. Where did he go?
Whitesnake. He went to Whitesnake.
Oh.
He replaced Vivian Campbell, who left and went eventually to Def Leppard. But he went into Whitesnake and did one album with Whitesnake. I can't remember which one.
I need to go back and research that because I have literally no recollection of Steve Vai playing with Whitesnake.
I don't remember. I think he was in videos, but when you hear him, you'll find the record that he's on, and then you'll listen to it. And as soon as the guitar solo comes on, you'll be like, "Oh shit, that's Steve Vai."
Interesting. Okay.
I thought that was a weird pairing. Him and David
still tours, by the way. Like he goes
out.
I
know. I saw him at the Bourbon a couple years ago. Nice. My brother and I went and left after about 20 minutes. He was making weird sex faces when he's playing the guitar. I was just like, it was very uncomfortable. I didn't get it. And I used to love Steve Vai. He has an album, his first ever solo album before David Lee Roth, right after he left Frank Zappa. This is maybe TMI for people, but it's called Flexible. Brilliant record. It's super weird. You can tell he worked with Frank Zappa. Like there's this song about like he's talking to an alien from outer space. And then there's another song. It's like just a straight up catchy love song, poppy love song. Then another one is just shredding on the guitar. It's an amazing album. I love it. He's never made another album like that. And I was excited for Roth or for Steve Vai becoming David Lee Roth's guitar player because I was semi-familiar with him from before.
Interesting. So, I was not familiar with him before. I think my first intro to Steve Vai was David Lee Roth. Yeah,
I've never cared for much of what he's done after that, but I acknowledge his talent for sure.
To his credit, I think it's hard to be a guitarist and carry off a headlining show. If you're not a vocalist of some sort, like all you are is like a really, really good guitarist. I mean, there's only a certain type of audience that wants to see that. So okay. All right. So then we move on to the next song, Skyscraper. I gave that one a thumbs up, but the very beginning is identical to Fly High Michelle. Identical. Really? Like I was listening to it and I thought that's what was going to happen next. And then I remembered, oh no, I'm listening to an album from David Lee Roth. So once that intro ends, it then very quickly moves into something that's reminiscent of like Synchronicity from The Police. Then it's like a hazy drug-fueled hallucination. Like we got weird tonality and vocals are being modified and it was different tempos. I mean, it's a crazy song, but I liked it. Like it was interesting to me and I thought it was kind of catchy. So I give that one a thumbs up. Then we move on to Damn Good. That song totally rips off Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. Totally. There's like a short little riff there that is from Stairway to Heaven, but it is a damn good song. Thumbs up. I do like this one a lot.
Yeah, I liked it. And I like the lyrics because you're right. Usually David Lee Roth is not writing serious stuff or, I mean, he's more, sometimes the words sound cool together, but they're not always really any real message behind it. Yeah. It's kind of like Dave. It fits him perfectly. Damn Good, though, did seem like there was a lot more thought put into it and there was a good sentiment to it. And so I like that song, Damn Good. I remember that one being one of my favorites on the album. If not my outright favorite, I'm not sure.
Yeah. You almost like listen to it and you wonder, is he talking about his time with Van Halen? Like, he's reminiscing about all of these great times that he's had.
Right. I kind of thought that a little bit.
I thought that was a great song. Hot Dog and a Shake, 2 thumbs down. It's kind of dumb. It is way too much piano. I do not want that much piano in my 80s metal. Like, no, I gave that 2 thumbs down. Like,
the lyrics are kind of dumb too. I mean, dumber than you would expect, normal. But
dumber than normal.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is Stand Up, which, as I mentioned, was the second single released from the album. It's catchy, although I don't know that I would have released this as a single. It's sort of like drags.
That's really
And
surprising that was a single. I did not
yeah,
know that. Wow.
I went back and watched the video. The video is a snooze. Like if you watch the first 20 seconds, you've seen the whole thing. It's mostly him with different girls doing weird like things like with weird fake backdrops, and it's
He had so many great videos, and the Van Halen videos from 1984, like Jump and Panama and all that, and then Hot for Teacher, and then Yankee Rose, and he was so innovative with videos. It's weird to see that he would make boring videos. It's like that was his thing.
I challenge everyone to go watch that video and to not agree with me. It's boring as hell. But even so, like I gave this song a thumbs up. I like this song. You know, it's catchy. Then we have Hina. I gave it a thumbs up, but I really don't know why. For some reason, I keep thinking of the Motley Crue song Glitter, which is a song I really like. And I don't know what that has to do with this song. The two don't even sound alike, but for some reason, like it was kind of popping into my brain. I don't know if maybe there were some parts to the song that were lyrically similar to Glitter, but it's about, I think, a woman, and maybe that's what it triggered in my brain. But I gave it a thumbs up. I think it's a catchy song. I liked it.
Yeah,
Perfect Timing is the next song, thumbs down. It sort of drags, and there just wasn't any element that stuck out. It's just, you know, one of those songs that just kind of feels like a filler to me, my own personal opinion. And then the very last song was my very least favorite song, Two Fools a Minute. It's the last song on the album. Like, I don't want lyrics like "See you in the funny papers." Like, okay, granddad, who talks like that? Like, thumbs down. It was too like whacked out, funny, you know, David Lee Roth. So in summary, this was not an album I would have bought if not for this assignment, but now I'm glad I have it. I actually purchased it. And I think I have a greater appreciation for David Lee Roth as a vocalist and as a solo artist, because musically this album was pretty damn solid. Good job, David Lee Roth. I mean, I think it was a very good album, and it's an album that I would listen to over and over. Like, I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too. And like I said, he was moving beyond the Van Halen sound. And so he was starting to do his own sort of sound. Take that for what it's worth. Maybe people liked it, maybe people didn't. You know, I always thought his solo material was better than Van Hagar, but most of the world didn't think that way, because Van Halen would sell like 5 or 6 million copies and Roth would sell like 1 or 2. So clearly the people were at the time going with Hagar. But you know what? I think if you look backwards, as people, if they were being honest with themselves, would reflect and say that Eat 'em and Smile and Skyscraper are better than that bullshit 5150, OU812, all of that crap. Okay, I'm telling you, it was better. And people, if
be honest with yourselves.
Yeah, if you're being honest with yourself, you're going to say, I was wrong back in the 80s. I'm right now. Roth was better. It was Team Dave 100%.
He's another one, you know, and we talk about some of these guys from time to time. He's another one that was on the very, very early edge of what became what we call 80s metal. And a lot of rockers from Sebastian Bach to on and on, like really took him as like their model for what they wanted to become in a lead vocalist. You know, and he does, I don't know if I've ever seen David Lee Roth live, to be honest with you. I don't know if I have, but you can tell from his videos, even if you haven't, he's got such a presence. He's magnetic. He is moving all over the place. Like, you're not going to see like a snoozer of a show, because he's very engaging in that way. And I just think a lot of lead singers really modeled themselves after him.
Oh, he was fun. I saw the original Van Halen in 84. I did see them with Hagar in the OU812 tour, but so I could say I saw it. Okay. I did see Roth on his first 2 solo tours, like I said, with Cinderella opening one of them and Poison opening the other. And then I didn't see him again until he got back in Van Halen. And that was like 2007 when they did that tour together.
Wow.
And I remember being at the arena. It was the CHI back then. I don't know what it's called now, or no, it is the CHI now. It used to be called
CenturyLink.
It was CenturyLink back then, yeah. So it was at CenturyLink. We get in there. I went with my brother, actually, and as soon as they came on stage and I saw David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen together, I had the biggest ear-to-ear grin
Did you
on
cry?
my face. I didn't quite cry, but I was very happy. And I was just like, this is so amazing. Like, I couldn't believe it. Second experience only to seeing the original Kiss get back together at Tiger Stadium in Detroit. That I probably did cry a little bit, but that also could have been because it was chaos on the floor and all the plastic chairs on the floor of Tiger Stadium were tied together.
Oh my.
So if one gets pushed, they all kind of go. And it was just, it was dangerous. I don't know if you remember, but like in the mid 90s, after Hagar was fired, there was a brief time where Van Halen had no singer and they appeared at the MTV Video Awards with Dave. He showed up because he had just sung on a greatest hits album that was the reason why Hagar was pissed off and why he got fired. I'm going into too much detail about Van Halen, but Roth didn't look good. He didn't look like the same old Dave. And it just was like, I don't know, man. But you know what? He tightened it up. And by the time the Van Halen reunion happened, he was great.
And he looks good now, I think. Like,
yeah, I think
he just had M3 or something. Like, he just performed somewhere. And
he's in amazing shape. Although, you know what? He is, if you look below his neck, his entire body is covered with tattoos.
What?
His back, his front, his arms, his legs.
Was that always the case?
No. It's only been something he's been doing like the last like 15 years or so.
Interesting.
Because he was living in Japan and he had like a special Japanese tattoo guy and all of this stuff. And I was just like, because it's weird, you know, he didn't seem like that.
Him as a tattoo guy.
No, I don't really see him as a tattoo guy either. But like you see him now, if he doesn't have a shirt on or if he has short sleeves, look at it. I mean, he is covered.
Interesting. Yeah, because back in the day of Just Like Paradise, when he was doing his Shields montage, I mean, he was like just tattoo free.
Anyways, we're getting into other areas here. So I hope you guys dug this episode. This was our homework assignment. Leave your comments below about what you thought of these two albums, or maybe you want to assign us something to do in the future.
I would love that, actually. I liked this episode because I'm listening to full albums in their entirety, which, first of all, just that alone, I don't think anyone really does anymore.
No.
And back then, albums were still a thing. So there's like a flow and like a story kind of that goes with the album. So I actually love the homework assignment. I would love it if somebody would assign us more homework.
Okay, so assign us some homework in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode of Rock of Aging or any other thing on the dark stuff. Thanks everybody for watching. This has been Rock of Aging. Goodbye.
Bye.